Good Lord, your intros, man, on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel are just off the charts, my friend. John McMullen, how are you, bud?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the NFL. Yeah, Mark. First 365. The great Mark Barzetta. I'm going to say that stepping in.
I appreciate it. Yeah, was delighted to get the call yesterday that, well, first off, Jody Mack is going to be out today, so I'm filling in. You have Rob Ellis filling in Thursday, is it?
Thursday.
Okay.
Yes. Jody's in Wednesday and Friday, so you're pinch hitting then Rob Ellis. So that's a lot of pressure. Who's going to be better? You're both going to be better than me, so it's not that much pressure.
I will say this before the show, John. We were talking about just overall knowledge of the 4for4 sports in Philadelphia. Rob Ellis might be the most knowledgeable of all four sports of Philadelphia sports history. The man is a walking, talking encyclopedia, and he does not get the credit he deserves. Me, I'm mostly personality. I'm just personality. I can break down some basketball for you, break down some football for you. But you know what? I just mainly thrive off my personality.
Well, you got me beat because I can break down football, some basketball, but I don't have your personality. So.
There you go. I'm very proud to say that my soon-to-be 4-year-old daughter just got the – I'm not kidding. They did superlatives in her preschool. She got chatterbox. So nice. I'm really proud of my little girl.
You got her on the routes to Temple. By the way, I'm booking Temple people. Every time I have a Temple guy on, we're going to have Colin Thompson on in hour 2. He's a Temple guy. Now, I did not know you guys went to the same high school. What'd you go to the same kindergarten class? Did you stop off at Florida as well? Because he was at Florida.
Yeah, he was there for a hot minute. Yeah. I will say I'm significantly older than Colin, but I know it was the same college. I know it's the same high school, and I'm pretty sure it's the same grade school. I went to Our Lady Mount Carmel in Doylestown, and I know Colin at least played for the Romans in grade school, which Our Lady Mount Carmel's kids play for. But I don't know if he went to Mount Carmel. I think he did, but I guess we'll clear it up in hour 2 of the program. He'll join us at 9:20 today, so I'm looking forward to that. Also today we got Brian Cameron from Philly Sports Network. He'll be joining us to break down the Birds. But before we really get started today, John, were you okay weather-wise last night? Was the thunder scaring you a little bit?
No, it has been quite. I hope everybody's okay. We kind of dodged a bullet here in South Jersey. I'm in South Jersey, so I think it was more west last night, more west of the city. But we had some down trees the day before in the neighborhood. So yeah, it's been ugly.
Yeah, I know
the past week, and it's continuing today. There's going to be storms again today. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are dealing with that. So if you are dealing with that, best of luck to you. And hopefully you can sit back, relax, and enjoy 2 hours of Eagles coverage because we got a lot to get into today. We are less than a month away from training camp. I know you're very excited about that. John McMullen, you'll be in the heat down there at the NovaCare Complex, having yourself a time. I know there's a lot of questions surrounding the Eagles right now, especially coming after a Super Bowl appearance last year. Unfortunately, yes, the Super Bowl loss, but I know there's some people out there still questioning Jalen Hurts. I want to talk to you today about the biggest question marks that we have still to talk about on this team. Also, is there a surprising player, a player that you're really curious to see, or maybe a coach you're curious to see at training camp? And again, Jason Kelsey was on this very network, the JAKIB Media Network, of course, talking about possibly retiring, when that's looming. He's been on other outlets as well, talking about when that could happen. I just think bottom line is the guy loves to play, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Brandon Graham's longevity. And is there a rookie in this draft class that you're looking, or maybe undrafted rookie as well, that you think will have a huge impact, maybe one of the unsung heroes potentially of the upcoming NFL season? So we'll get into all that and more on today's program. But I want to start it off with the big lead today, John McMullen, and I think that has to do with Jalen Hurts. I've seen questions being asked about Jalen Hurts on this very network. I've seen questions being asked about Jalen Hurts on the national stage. When you talk about guys like Nick Reich, you talk about other national publications. And it seems to me that after this incredible year, the Eagles, of course, are sold on Jalen Hurts, and they proved that by a huge contract, biggest in NFL history at the time.
4 days, baby. He had 4 days.
Yeah, for 4 long, beautiful days.
Yeah.
But it seems to me the only knock right now that is at all legitimate surrounding Jalen Hurts is the experience. It's the fact that he does not have a long resume to this point, John McMullen. But what he has done in the brief resume that he's been able to put together has been pretty impressive.
Yeah, I would say so. I'm more in the category, Jody and I do this show every day, and I've been stunned. We don't talk about him anymore. Like this year at this time, Mark, all we talked about was Jalen Hurts. So is Jalen Hurts going to do this? Is Jalen Hurts going to do that? This offseason, we're like worried about everything else, and we're like, no, it doesn't even come up. It's sort of like I have to prompt people to talk about Jalen Hurts. Now, occasionally, Marcus Hayes, my buddy, kind of took something off by using an adjective, and he used insecurity. The ironic part of that is, and as a reporter, I'm not a big fan of aggregators because they leave out the context. Marcus was actually complimenting Jalen Hurts, and I would have used a different word, but he used it purposefully, didn't back off of it. But what he was trying to say is, look, the guy's very self-aware. He understands his deficiencies as a player. And he even mentioned this in his last press conference with us. He said, working on my weaknesses. I'm not going to tell you what they are. And he was talking to the reporters, but he acknowledges them. And he's, I always talk about it with organizations more than players, but it's very important for players too, Mark. You have to be honest with yourself, man. Like if you act like a contender and you're not a contender as a GM, you're going to get in trouble. You have to understand where you are. You have to be honest with yourself. Jalen Hurts is very honest with himself. A lot of players aren't. And he's got the tremendous work ethic. And that's what Marcus was trying to say. But people take one word, they take it out of context, and what are you talking about? And Marcus doesn't care, but you get my point. And I always go back to the thing every single football coach says, right? The biggest cliche in the world: control what you can control. You can't control what other people think, can't control any of that, but you can control yourself, and that's what Jalen Hurts does so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree. You talk about that word insecure. I mean, when you really think about it, I like to think about it as the opposite. Okay, let's go to the opposite for a second. So what's the opposite of insecure? Well, it's actually something that we hate here in Philadelphia. It's somebody that just feels like everything's guaranteed for them. It's somebody that feels like, they've already accomplished everything. I mean, we've heard from athletes in the past, whether it be in football, whether it be in basketball or baseball, whether it be Scott Rowland in the baseball world, whether that be Sean Bradley in the basketball world of, we got to play every game like it's game 7, that kind of thing. And Philadelphia is like, yeah, every dribble down the first base line, you better be busting it to the bag, that kind of attitude. Jalen Hurts plays the game with that kind of attitude. My take on it was simple. I mean, the opposite of insecure is somebody that's overly confident, and a guy that isn't smelling himself, I don't think is doing his job well. And Jalen Hurts uses that insecurity, I feel, to motivate himself, to make sure that he is playing at the highest level he could possibly play at. Now, there's a couple of things here. One is the last quarterback that was supposed to be the franchise guy was very insecure, and that made him crumble, I feel, in Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts is insecure in a way that only motivates him to be better. So if you want to use the word insecure as the adjective, as you were pointing out, and Marcus Hayes certainly used, then okay. But I don't feel like it is in a negative way at all. And like you said, I felt like it was a compliment, because what we ask of our athletes all the time is to always play like it's game 7, always play like it's the Super Bowl, always play like the last play could be your last play. And that's how Jalen Hurts attacks it. And that's how Jalen Hurts got to the level that he was at this past year as an all-pro quarterback, an MVP caliber quarterback, runner-up in the MVP, and a Super Bowl appearance in his second year as a starter. So if that's how he likes to attack it, and whenever you do hear from him, whenever he's doing a press conference and you're there all the time for it, John, you know this guy just wants to talk about how he can work on himself. He was asked about how he can improve upon last season. And as you said, he wasn't going to talk about the specifics, but in his head, he's like, yeah, guess what? I made it to the Super Bowl. Cool. You know what I didn't do? I didn't win the Super Bowl. Cool. I was in the MVP conversation. You know what I didn't do? I didn't win the MVP. I was one of the all-pro quarterbacks. Great. We were undefeated for a long time, but I can still be better. I can still improve. I still have a high ceiling. And whatever he needs to do to improve upon that, whatever mentality he needs, I got a lot of confidence in Jalen Hurts that he is going to use that as motivation to make sure that he can elevate his ceiling.
Yeah, and I think everybody does, and that's the point. I bring it up. People stopped at insecure. Marcus's next paragraph was essentially comparing him to Michael Jordan with the work ethic. You've heard the same thing from Nick Sirianni, which is, that's a big comp. And people, when Nick said that, people took that the wrong way and thought he was comping the players. And obviously, you're talking about one of the greatest players in NBA history, one of the greatest players in any sport. When ESPN did their top, whatever it was, 100 athletes, he was number one. So pretty high. Not fair to compare anybody to Michael Jordan from a production standpoint. But Nick was comparing, same as Marcus, the work ethic, the desire to get better. And that's where Jalen is kind of off the charts and surpasses some players maybe that have more physical gifts, especially from an arm talent perspective. But do they work as hard as him? Probably not. And one thing you never see, Mark, with players in any sport, ascension. They get better a little bit every year. Usually it's like an EKG. You have some hiccups. Somebody has a good year, then they have a bit of a down year. Then maybe they bounce back. Maybe they get better. Then they have a down year. Since he was at Alabama, even the year he got benched, he got better. 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 Went to Oklahoma. He got better. Came to Philadelphia. Every single season, he's gotten better. That's rare when you have that sharp trajectory up with the no hiccups. And that's why the Eagles are so confident in Jalen Hurts. The money factors into it with typical people. Nobody worries about it with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Nick said, and I said before Nick said, this is the most mature 24-year-old human being I've ever said. I know I was a knucklehead at 24. I can't speak for Mark Barzetta, but I don't know many mature people at 23, 24. I don't. Never have. In the cusp, we're all knuckleheads, right? We do some stuff. Some of us are better than others. Same thing with NFL players. I think, they come into the league. Jalen Carter is a perfect example of this. He's not Al Capone. He made a serious mistake, and I'm not trying to downplay that, but
right.
He is a young kid. He's not robbing banks. I mean, he deserves a second chance, and we'll see what he does with it. But immaturity with young people does not surprise me. He's not immature at all. It's weird.
I don't think I've ever felt more confident in a player that has gotten a huge contract in Philadelphia, more so than I've been confident in Jalen Hurts. And it's because of that maturity. I mean, you can look at money across sports, even Carson Wentz, the money that he got, still longevity. I wanted to see longevity. I wanted to see a guy go out there, be able to complete a season, be able to go out there and show that he is that next level of maturity. But some adversity faced him, and he shook. He shook big time. Jalen Hurts, I don't see shaking. I see a guy going out there and continuously doing what we saw last year. I see him as a perennial MVP candidate. I see the Eagles as a perennial, at least playoff team, NFC championship, NFC East champions without question, NFC championship contenders, Super Bowl contenders, mainly because of Jalen Hurts and what he brings to the table athletically, and also what he brings to the table between the ears because of that maturity level.
Yeah, and he calls himself a triple threat because a lot of people focus on his running ability, and obviously it's tremendous. He improves so much as a passer, but he also, I think he takes the most pride in the mental aspect of the game, getting the Eagles in the right, spot, right call, putting the football where it's supposed to go. Because remember, the modern game is more concepts than plays. If you think about the days of Bill Walsh, you call a play. Now quarterbacks look at, all right, where's the free safety? All right, we have this concept. He's there. Ball's got to go here. So in a lot of games, a lot of ways, the game is simplified, but he makes the right decisions. He takes care of the football. Josh Allen's a guy I've been talking about a lot in this offseason. I put Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen now in the cusp of quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Most people disagree with me. Traits-wise, I get it. Josh Allen's phenomenal, but he's reckless. He makes a lot of mistakes, has made a lot of mistakes in big situations. Jalen takes care of the football, and you still have that explosive playability. He's really a unique player. I think everybody was concerned about the improvement with the accuracy, whether that's A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Sure, it helps. Dallas Goedert, the best offensive line. But, I mean, it's hard to poke holes in Jalen Hurts right now. It really is.
Coming up, we're going to talk to Brian Cameron of Philly Sports Network about all things Jalen Hurts, all things Eagles, of course. And also, look, I think we can sing the praises of Jalen Hurts all day, but if we have to talk about one thing in particular that we might want to see improved about his game, what would that be? We'll get to that in just a second here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku?